Hi, Ginger. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. Good morning, Lou, or whatever it is in your time zone.
It's this afternoon now, but thank
Okay,
you.
good afternoon.
So, Ginger, you are from Eugene, Oregon, and you did the Evolution Yoga Teacher training online back in September, so last month now.
Correct.
What was your life like before yoga teacher training?
Very calm and peaceful. I have a pretty quiet life, and it's pretty quiet in Eugene, Oregon, especially with COVID and the lockdown. So, pretty much just hanging out in my home with my animals, going to the market. It's about the extent of it. You doing yoga, via online classes.
Sure. So what would you say was a typical day in the life of an online yoga teacher training for you? Like, what was your experience?
If I just could have done the yoga training and not had a private life as well, just the balance of the two it took me a few days to get it into a groove, but I did enjoy it. It was I haven't been in any kind of a school setting in a while. So it was just, it was pretty focused. And I think I was pretty focused, on it, because it was such a short amount of time that you want to absorb as much as possible. So, I enjoyed it. After the first couple of days of getting the scheduling together, it was fine. It's definitely a lot of information coming, your way. It was a lot more, I guess, more extensive than I had thought it would be, the actual ins and outs of the different classes and the structure of it. But I didn't feel like my time was wasted, that's for sure.
Right. Yes, you learned a lot. So, I guess you scheduled everything around the teacher training, right? So what were you practicing every morning? Like, tell us a little bit more about like the practicality.
So the first thing for me, because of my time zone and coordinating with the different teachers, right, internationally, I started out with a study group, which was usually 90 minutes, and where we would go over all of the whatever the asana of the day was, whatever the posture of the day was, they have a learning method of memorization, and we would do that. And depending on the teacher, just focus on memorization and speaking, the dialogue. And then it would go to an actual there were two groups. I was on the hot yoga side versus the flow side. So then we would have an actual class, which we all would just Zoom online. And then there's like a study group break, yoga class break, and then it would go into either mechanics or the teaching clinic, where we would break down the posture more specifically. And then I think the final class of the day was usually some sort of lecture more on the theory of the history of yoga and the path of yoga apart from the actual practice.
Yeah, like
it was a pretty full day.
Yeah. What would you say was the most challenging part of the training?
Memorization for me.
Right. Yeah. No.
Just because I'm a little bit older, so my memory, is not great. So it was pretty relentless. It's sort of I likened it to learning to play the piano. If you lose a day or two, you kind of are screwed, because the catch up you just have to do it. And it was a challenge for me, because I'm more lax about my study habits, always have been, and I really had to focus, and I had to just trust that it was going to, Mark, the owner, and Zephia would say, just learn it, because everybody's so overwhelmed by the intensity of it, and And they said, just learn it. You're not going to feel like you know it. And when it comes time, it'll be there in your mind. And it truly was. I was skeptical.
Right? Yeah, it's magical how it is.
It is magical. And my teacher in the teacher training kept saying, just trust the process. And I thought, oh no, I've been around the block a few times. I'm not sure that this is going to work, but it did. I was pleasantly surprised. I mean, of course, for me, it wasn't perfect by any means, but it was pretty darn close. So that was the most challenging, I think, for me, because it was, it was very specific and you couldn't fudge your way around it. You just had to do it.
Right. And was there any like tools or techniques that helped you memorize? Or was there any specific way that you were like, oh yes, this really like?
Well, I think everybody has a different learning style and a different way to do. I'm very extremely visual, and I, because I've studied yoga or this style of yoga for such a long time that I know I could have taught it. It probably wouldn't have been the dialogue that is prepared for the class structure. They have a specific memorization tool that, excuse me, a call and response where somebody, the teacher or whoever you're studying with would say 2 lines of the dialogue, and then you repeat it. And then you keep moving forward. So you just keep adding on to that original 2 lines till you have maybe the whole paragraph or whatever the structure of the form is. And that's just straight, memorization by rote. And it does work. I mean, that's what I had to do, except when I wasn't in my private time, I would just do it myself. Like I was 2 people, I'd say it and I'd just keep doing it. And it worked. It did work. So again, trust the process, really.
Yes. Yeah. And what would you say, Ginger, was the most rewarding part of the training for you?
I have to say, for me to just, and I don't know that I can speak for everybody, but really to get to the point where we actually had to teach a class. They have it, with our fellow online students, whoever. There was a group that was actually a live group in Hawaii that were in a house. So we would have, 3 students taking the class, and they first had us do the first standing postures, and then the second, and then in the final week, we had to teach the entire class. It was a 60-minute class, and which had its challenges too, because there's a lot of dialogue and you're trying to get it in under the wire. I was way over the first time, like by 8 minutes. That didn't even include the breathing exercises. But I think for me and everybody, after you taught the first part especially, it was like just a sigh of relief that it worked. I was able to just basically throw the book aside and it worked. And then to have to I never thought I was so panicked. Oh my God, I have to teach an entire class. What are you, crazy? And I did, and the thing with the online thing, that one of the reasons I think everybody wants to be in a hot room learning all together, that's the optimum, but it's not the way it is right now. And so I just wasn't sure how it was going to translate in terms of the energy and how I would feel. And I have a theatrical background, so I can be pretty dynamic. And I remember Zephia saying, "Oh my God, Ginger, it feels like you're just coming right through the computer screen in my delivery." And that was good to know, because you really don't know how it's the perception of it. And it was great. I mean, I can't even imagine. I thought I had to pull it back a little bit, and she said, no. Because then I saw her teach a class, because we had to observe an instructor. And I was overwhelmed at how dynamic she was. Because typically in my experience of yoga classes, people are pretty calm, because it's, the whole idea of it, right, is a calming environment. And I've very rarely had somebody that was really animated. So it was great that came through online. That was one of my reservations, but it was, I could have been in the room with anybody teaching. I mean, I was essentially, except this format. So
yeah, no, it's incredible. And What would you say most surprised you about the whole process?
Excuse me?
What surprised you the most about the online training?
I think that the most surprising thing, and probably this is just a reiteration of what I just said, was in that time frame of 4 weeks or just under 4 weeks, that we all got to the end of it and were able to teach a class. I just thought, well, we're going to have to absorb. Of course, you still learn, right? I can look at the asanas, excuse me, and pick up something that I didn't see before. But, I was skeptical for myself, and I don't have stage fright. Everybody has different things that they're nervous about, and that's not one of them for me. But, that surprised me the most in the time frame. Considering in the beginning it was to look at the asanas and see, oh my goodness, there's 26 postures plus 2.
Right.
And that was great. That was really, today I still think about it and I think, wow, I think that's pretty impressive on all the students.
Yeah, I remember when I did mine, I was like, well, just like you, I was like, are they crazy? Like, how are we going to learn all this and teach a class by the end of 4 weeks? Like, there's no way. But it's so true. It's just showing up every day, doing what you need to do, and just trusting that it's all there.
Yes. And of course, they've been doing this for a long time. So they have it, worked out and know what the results are. But excuse me. Yeah. So that was great. Even in probably the week before the second week of the final module, I even said, just speaking out loud online, I said, are we going to be teaching a full class? And everybody looked at me like, yes. Because in my mind, I didn't think that was even possible. And they were like, well, yes, you're going to teach a full class. And I was like, oh no. So
what made you take the first step to investing in yourself this way into the yoga teacher training?
Well, it's something I wanted to do for a long time. And when I was I'm from California, and the only thing that was available at that time was the actual Bikram form. And I could never, I'm a massage therapist and I was still paying on a student loan. And the cost of Bikram school was quite high. And just the time frame, I have animals. I can't just disappear for 7 or 8 weeks. And I was trying to recollect how I even found Evolation. And I'm not working because of COVID, and I had all this time on my hands, and I was just really kind of reading and not being what I feel to be really productive. And I thought, well, maybe I can learn something. And it must have come across maybe my Instagram page, or there must have been an advert. And I thought, oh, well, this looks, I like the logo and everything. And so I contacted them and, got information and did a Q&A to find out, a little bit more specific details. And then I just thought about it and I thought, oh, all right, I'm going to do it. And I just signed up,
Now or never.
Exactly.
Yeah, what better time if you can't work, especially right now, then what better time to, really use this time that we have, which is a quieter time for all of us.
Yeah.
Not being able to go out, socialize and do our normal daily activities. So what better time than to really invest in yourself?
And in yoga, it's not like I was learning to play the trumpet or something, right? It was really perfect in a quiet space, at a quiet time in everybody's life. So the timing was I thought, yeah, just do it.
Yeah, divine timing. Yeah. Amazing. And so now you've graduated and you've taught your first class and you saw how incredible and magical the process has been. What's next for you? Like, what do you feel like, what are you going to do with this experience that you've had?
Well, I'm just coming out of sort of a decompression of time. I just didn't want to do anything. I actually have just been doing yoga at home. I haven't gone online. I just felt for me, I just needed to rest and just get back to my life here and organize. I mean, this is my school space right here. I haven't even put this into where it's, I haven't rearranged my house yet. But I think, in my heart of hearts, I would love to teach in a studio once everything opens up again. That's really where I think I'm destined to be. So, in the meantime, probably this week I've started, every day I go through all the asanas. I teach the class essentially just verbally to just as I'm puttering around my house, just to make sure I don't lose it. And I'm surprised it's still like right there. It's amazing. So, it probably I'll pick up maybe teaching some classes online. But, I really I want everything to open up again because I want to be in a hot room. And that's, that they're as energetic as I feel online doing the work, it's just a different exchange of energy.
Yeah, I agree. It's different. And again, it's going to be different for everyone, but the beauty of it is that you've been able to make the most of this time, like we said, and train. And then as soon as things do open up and life goes back to some form of normal, whatever that looks like, and you can teach in a studio like that because you've had that practice and you've made the most of the time.
Yeah,
which is wonderful.
I actually even thought about teaching outside, just going because there are not that many hot studios here in Eugene. There's really one or maybe two, and a lot of places are teaching classes outside so they can continue that their business can continue to move. But now for us here, our weather's changing. So it's really cold. It's going to start raining and the days are shorter. And I thought, shoot, I missed that window. But if things don't open up come the spring, then that's probably what I'll do. I'll just create a private business and teach it, once I have to do my, I finished all my assignments. So I just need to sign up for the Yoga Alliance and then that's probably what I'll do to make that happen.
Sounds great. Yeah.
I think it'd be fun.
The most important thing is to teach. Now it's time to teach and get more experience in the teaching.
Yeah.
That's the next step of the journey.
Yeah. I mean, if it were up to me and I was, didn't have, my responsibilities, I'd probably be in Hawaii right now, living there and finding a place to teach there because I love Hawaii. But alas, I'm not. I'm here. But I've been percolating that thought of, I passed a group that was at a shopping area that I go to once a week it's like they have markets there. And there's a little courtyard, really nice courtyard. And there was somebody that had, I think, probably 8 students, and I don't know what kind of yoga she was teaching, but they were their mats were rolled out and she had a microphone and a little, tent for her equipment. And I thought that's a great idea. And I'm sure she probably doesn't even have to pay anything. She probably just asked if she could use this little bit of space. And it was early enough in the day that it wasn't disrupting. So I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, when we open our minds, there's endless possibilities to what's available to us. Yeah, for sure. And you mentioned before, how you said about you being mature in age and your memory or whatever. How does it feel to in the training being a more of a mature student?
One of the adults.
One of the adults, yeah.
It's funny because I'm definitely a senior citizen, but I've always had a pretty youthful energy about me, and I've always worked with younger people, so I'm used to being around younger people. And there were a few of us there were some women in their late 40s maybe, but maybe only 3 of us, and everybody was quite young because, that's, I mean, I wished I'd have thought about it when I was really young, but my life took a different path. So, I didn't really feel, I mean, sometimes I would say, this is whatever, the memorization is probably really reflective. I don't remember I can't even remember that. I don't remember having a good memory ever. I think it's always been, one of those things because I always used to think, I wish I had a photographic memory. But, I think that there's always something to learn from anybody that's any age. And I like being around younger people just because they're so goofy and silly. And I was like, was I ever like that? And of course I was, I'm sure. So, I mean, for me, it made because sometimes just studying can be so dry. And I loved, seeing them be really silly and the jokes. And we all got, the group, my study group, there were 4 of us that were core. And, we got pretty close, and it was really, and we loved our instructor that was usually our instructor. And so it was nice. I just think, youth is a great thing, and I like to be around it. So that was fine. I didn't really, apart from me saying, oh, I'm so old, I didn't really, nobody said, oh my God, she's so old, or she doesn't get it. Because I do, I get it because I've lived it. So, but yeah, it was fine. And then there's always Mark. Mark is an old guy. I'm still older than him, but we would say things and I would reference something and I would just say, they don't even know what that is. They don't even know who that is. They don't know what that music is, because they're so young. We would just laugh. So I always had a fallback guy.
And there is so much beauty in a mixture of ages and races and the different walks of life, different backgrounds. Yeah, it's always such an enriching experience to share with anyone, any human.
And even though we weren't actually physically together, you're still you're still together for the immersion of the 3 modules. So it's feeling like, oh, even now I'm in touch with some of them, and I just, I think, wow, it's so weird to just talk to you and have a casual chat instead of something specific about the training. It's sort of like now we're actually getting to know people in a different way, which I enjoy.
Yeah,
so.
For sure. And if you could sum up the training in 3 words, what would they be?
Just do it. Just do it.
Love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say, or trust the process. That's probably would be either one. It was definitely, it was pretty awesome. There were moments when I was like, oh, I don't know if I can do this, but I'm not one to, walk away from something because it's a challenge. And you just feel, it's so inspiring to know that you did it, that for all of us that we actually did it.
Yeah.
And honestly, it was a lot of great information, and I feel fully equipped, to teach. I really do. I don't know what, if you're in it for a longer period of time in training. I really just I loved the immersion of it. I liked, even though it was like, I loved that. It was great.
Yeah, no, it's a wonderful experience, life-changing.
It is pretty much.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Ginger, for your time.
Oh, my pleasure.
It's been absolutely wonderful.